Okay, let's talk tomorrow's quiz. It is the last quiz test of the quarter. All right. We will have homeworks checked, obviously. The quarter ends next Friday, but our unit test will not be until into quarter two. So what am I trying to tell you? Last chance to bump your grade up tomorrow is this quiz. Correct. Okay, the quiz will be 39 points. For you guys that worry about how many questions, it'll be 13. 3 of those 13 will be proofs for 5 points apiece. All 3 proofs are proving triangles congruent. That is it. What we do today, not on there. All right, all 3 proofs end in prove these 2 triangles congruent. Now look, everything is fair game. I could throw a subtraction on there. I can throw parallel lines on there. Anything is fair game. Okay? But all 3 proofs will end in proving the triangles congruent. What else is on there? The first 6 questions, I drew 2 triangles out and marked them up. And my question is, are they congruent? If so, why? Not possible may be a choice. Let's remember what we are not going to write down. What 3 letters are we not going to write down? SSA is not a way. The other way it should not show up should be angle, angle, angle. That is not a way to prove triangles congruent. Guys, how many ways do we have? 4. Don't make up your own. All right, don't make up your own. There's only 4. Those are the only 4 that should be written down if they are congruent. Good? What's the rest of the test? Interior and exterior angles of a triangle. Algebra problems. Interior, exterior angles of a triangle. Okay? We all good? I will be after school today if you want to come by. Real quick. Hey, real quick. What do I call angle 1? Exterior. What's the relationship between 1 and 2 and 3? Angle 1 equals angle 2 plus angle 3. No factoring. No systems of equations. Just know your geometry. Okay? Know your geometry. We all good? Yes, Charlotte. No distance formula. Good question. Nothing. Solve an algebraic equation. That's it. Get x all by itself. All good? Okay, let's move on then. Let's move on to today's topic, which is good practice for tomorrow. All right. What we're going to do is take your triangle proofs, make them 1 step longer now. What happens after the triangles are congruent? That's today's topic. We got the triangles congruent. What do I know now, afterwards? So right now I'm telling you, triangle WIS is congruent to EUP. I did not draw a diagram because it's not needed. I've been trying to go over the top and telling you guys how powerful these congruent statements are. So I'm going to turn to somebody now. Now that I know the triangles are congruent, tell me 1 true fact about each triangle now. Tell me a true fact between the triangles. There's actually 6 facts. I only need 1 right now. Okay? Now that you know the triangles are congruent, what else now is true? Let's start this party off with number 18. Side WI is congruent to side EU. After the triangles are congruent, that is correct. Where in the world did he get WI and EU to match up? The statement. WI is in the first 2 spots, and the other triangle, EU, is in the first 2 spots. More! Need 5 other people coming to this party here. Let's go! 27. Great job. 19. What else is true? Yep. Those 2 sides are congruent. More. Keep feeding. Let's go. 10. Nice. When angles on us. Little change up.
Yes, sir.
Anybody get thrown off their game there? Yep. Little change up. Regroup. S congruent to P. Next up. 1. WS congruent to EP. 2 more. Don't screw it up. We're on a good move here. 24. Great job. 20. Yeah. The last one. What have we not said? 24. Yep. 30. There you go. Angle I is congruent to angle U. All good, because that's what we're doing now. Great job proving the triangle's congruent, but now, by the way, what do we refer to all these as? Corresponding parts. Corresponding parts. Okay? So once the triangles are congruent, so are the corresponding parts. And that's what you're going to prove today in your statement's reasons. Prove a pair of corresponding parts congruent. All right, here we go. So number 1, this is good practice for tomorrow too, proving triangles congruent. CA is congruent to CB. Nice. Ooh, a little midpoint now at you. D is the midpoint of AB. Part A, prove the triangle's congruent. Okay, great practice going into tomorrow. I don't know if the ones tomorrow are this easy or not, but good job. Remember what I asked yesterday? Make a plan before you write down statement 2. Figure out before you write down anything else after the givens why the triangles are going to be congruent. Have that method in your mind and then get going. Hey, what else do you want me to put in the proof? 12. Okay, I will. No, AD congruent to DB. That is a true statement. Why is it a true statement? Oh, 14. Why is that true? That's the definition of the old midpoint. That's not good enough, though, because you need 3 pairs of sides or angles. I only have 2 pair right now. Somebody's got to give me another pair of something, whether it be angles or sides. I don't care. 11. There we go. Shared side, DC, congruent to itself. That's what we like to call the good old reflexive postulate. Now it looks like I have everything I need. Ooh. Triangle ACD now is congruent to triangle BCD. Remember, you only have 4 methods. Those are the only 4 that show up. Nothing created on your own. 2. All right, we could all do that. Now let's take it a step further. Now that the triangles are congruent, why would ACD, everyone look at that angle, and BCD be congruent? Don't give me definition of a bisector. Don't start throwing in words. What did we just prove congruent? Triangles. And if I look at those 2 angles specifically, those 2 angles are corresponding parts, aren't they? So if the triangles are congruent, so should the corresponding parts be congruent. So now I'm just going to add an extra step in today. Angle ACD, shut it, congruent to BCD. Ooh, ready for this now. What were those? Corresponding parts in, what did we just prove? Incongruent triangles. So if I have corresponding parts in congruent triangles, are congruent. Don't go on yet. Don't go on. How do we feel about that reason? Usually there's a little whining and, how can you're going to make me remember that? Do I need to remember that word for word? That's a lot to write down. My wrist hurts. Are you ready for its classic shorthand? Ready? CPCTC. Corresponding parts in congruent triangles are congruent. I'll give you about 15, 20 seconds. Let it roll off the tongue a little bit. CPCTC. Tell your friends you learned CPCTC. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, hold on. I don't care which one you use, whether you write out corresponding parts in congruent triangles or congruent or CPCTC. But if you choose to use CPCTC on a test or quiz, you're darn right it's got to be in the correct order. I'm not going to accept CCTABCXYZ. That's not going to fly with me. All right, so if you want to use the shorthand, keep rolling it off your tongue there. All right, CPCTC. All right, one doesn't make you great. Let's keep trucking. Make sure we have the correct angles marked. Again, figure out a plan to prove the triangle's congruent before we write anything else down. Okay, proving the triangle's congruent. I already have two pairs of full angles in those triangles. So it looks like all I need is either it's not going to be a full pair of angles because angle never away. So somebody's going to give me a side instead because it's got to be a side. 21 got a side. Okay, it's the side they share because of reflexive. Good. All right. It looks to me now you have a choice between angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side because I have two angles and a side. Figure out right now, is the side in between? And what I mean by in between is in between two angles of the same triangle. You have to just look at one triangle only, cover up the other one, and say, is that side in between? Yes or no? That's what you have to decide. So is PS in between or no? What do we think here, 9? In between or no? What's that? It is not. So we are going to say that those two triangles, PRS and SQP, are congruent by angle, angle, side. Now I want to know why SQ and PR are congruent. And I know you get it. You just saw the last proof, so you just throw down CPCTC. But I want to show you. Look at your diagram, please. Most of us would just, hey, take this triangle, flip it over on top of this one, and say SQ would match up with what? Flip it over. SQ would match up with what? Flip it over. SQ would match up with RS. Then why am I saying SQ and PR are the corresponding sides? Because watch, when you flip this over like this, I 100% agree those two angles match up. But would those two angles match up? Would these, if I just flip this triangle over right on top of each other, are these two angles going to match up? No. What you guys need to determine when you find corresponding parts is those angles need to match right on top of each other. All right? All the corresponding, congruent corresponding parts need to match right up. So I'm not going to flip this over. Watch. I'll actually turn this around so these two match up and these two. Then QS would match up with what? Flip it. Flip it around so these two match up and these two. What would QS then match up with? PR. That's why they're the corresponding parts. So QS congruent to PR, CPCTC. All right. Unfortunately, I'm done holding hands now. Because in the last two proofs, it was like, oh, here's part A, kids. Prove the triangles and then do your parts. Now it's just take a look on this next one. Boom. Now prove a pair of line segments congruent. No more little parts A and B anymore. Prove the line segments congruent. Now, get in the habit now. Hey, I got to prove a pair of sides congruent. Better prove what congruent first then? The triangles. That's you and your group's job right now. Prove the triangles congruent. Because you cannot prove DC and BA parallel congruent until the triangles are congruent. $21. One pair of angles or sides. Oh, yeah. There's a pair of sides for you. What else do I have in this diagram? 19. DCA and CAB, correct? And I'll stay right here because I can put the next, hopefully next pair of angles in the same statement because they'll have the same reason. And that's okay. All right, valid to do that. That's fine. 5, what are the other pair of angles that were congruent? DAC is congruent to ACB. Correct. Those two and those two. All right. What was your reason for all two pairs of angles being congruent there? 13, why are those two pair congruent? There you go. That's never leaving. Never leaving. And now you just have to determine, is that side in between or not? And also writing a correct congruent statement. Because last two proofs, you could just copy it. Now you had to make sure everything matched up here. So what is your correct matched up congruent statement? 19. DCA congruent to, what was the other one? How'd we do there? All right, I'm good. What method? 21, what method? Angle, side, angle. That side was in between for sure. And now that the triangles are congruent, any pair of corresponding parts are congruent, including DC and BA. CPCTC. CPCTC should not show up on your test tomorrow. We all good there. It's not a way of proving triangles congruent. Okay? Quickly, again, what are the 4 ways that will show up tomorrow?
SS, SAS, ASA, AAS. Yes, sir.
Those are the, if you tell me 2 triangles are congruent tomorrow, those are the only 4 that should show up. Not any on your own. Before I end this with you, I just want to give you a heads up, and I am checking the homework tomorrow. Sometimes I don't check it. I check it the day after a quiz, but this is good practice for the quiz tonight, other than writing CPCTC. So tonight, I believe, let's see, what do you have? Page 270, 14, and 15. I just want to show you something so you don't get confused, because we didn't do this type in class today, and I don't want you guys to get all crazy on me. $270, and you guys have 14 and 15. All right, so I just wanted to show you 14 real quick. You're gonna make me move here. Why don't you calm down over there? We good? Who'd you vote for last time? Oh, that's right, you didn't. Never mind. Okay, here we go. Sorry, Mike, it was just too easy. Too easy, sorry. Okay, here we go. Real quick. Here's your first proof tonight. All right? And if you look at the proof statement, it says prove angle MJL is congruent to KNL, which this is going to be CPCTC, which means before CPCTC, you need to prove a pair of what congruent first? Triangles. And in this problem, there's multiple triangles. Everything we did today, there are always 2 and only 2, prove them congruent. So how can you tell which 2 to prove congruent? Look at your statement. Look at your statement. So MJL and KNL. Prove the 2 triangles that contain those angles. Good? Okay, so if you have multiple triangles in your diagram, look at your proof statement and say, okay, where are the 2 triangles where these 2 angles are? And then prove those 2 congruent. Good? Okay, make sure we practice those 4 tonight. I'll be after school today if you need anything from me. And get ready for the last quiz of the quarter.